Today I'm going to show you a very traditional way of lighting a fire. I had hoped to do solar fire with you today, but unfortunately there is no sun. So what we're going to do instead is flint and steel. Now this is a fantastic method for starting a fire, a lot more reliable than solar fire, because you can carry a piece of carbon steel and a flint and some form of tinder to catch the spark, and you can have a fire fairly quickly. So let me show you how to do that. The first thing we need to do is to use my tools I have in my bag to process some wood in order to get a fire going. Okay, it's slightly snowing, but I'm going to use my axe, my knife, to prepare some wood for lighting a fire. Please be aware, when I'm using tools, I'm being incredibly careful. You must treat sharp objects with massive respect, be really careful, and always have parental supervision if doing any form of bushcraft. Okay lads, I hope you enjoy this video. Frozen to the stump. With a dexterous flourish of my tomahawk, the wood cleaves itself apart along the grain, forming perfect small battens of kindling. For smaller pieces, I hold the wood to the bit, clamping the ends to the handle. Keeping hands well out the way, tucked safely together on the haft, the first tap seats the bit into the wood fibres, and the next few use the weight of the hawk to easily tear the wood in two. Using an axe is a meditative process, one which takes years of practice to perfect. Of all the tools used in bushcraft, the axe is the most powerful, and as such, also the most dangerous if used incorrectly. The woodsman's axe is certainly something to treat with awe and respect. Okay lads, so here you can see the different stages of my kindling. We have really small pencil lead thin pieces here. This will catch fire really easily, and then we go up a size. So we go up to the next gear of fuel, which is a slightly thicker kindling but still fairly small. So these are about pencil thickness. So we've got pencil lead, pencil thickness. Then we go up another size again to like finger thickness. Okay, and then we have thumb thickness. Okay, so some bigger fuel here. So we start with pencil lead, go to pencil, finger thickness, thumb thickness, and then we get bigger fuel after that, and our fire is sustained. So you go up the gears when you're building a fire. You start small and get bigger progressively as the fire builds. Taking a few square pieces of kindling, I begin working the edges with my knife. The goal here is to create surface area on the piece of wood by making very fine curls that will easily catch and hold fire. These feather sticks are essential in heavy rain, but they are a fantastic addition to any fire lay in any weather condition. Each time I gently pass my knife down the wood, raising a thin slither of birch fibre, I effectively create two further ridges for me to work down. This is a precision task, one which rewards patience and practice, forcing the user to become familiar with their blade and learn its bevels and quirks. Okay, so when you're using any form of firelighting that creates a coal rather than a flame, so something that smoulders rather than has big flames coming off it, you need to work out a way of turning the ember, the coal, into a flame in order to light your fire. So you want to go from smouldering ember to roaring flames. And to do that you need something called a tinder bundle or a bird's nest. Okay, and the reason we call it a bird's nest is because we shape it to look a bit like a bird's nest. Bird's nests are typically made of soft fibrous material to be a home for a bird, and a tinder bundle is much the same principle. Soft fibrous material that's very dry and can transfer that ember into a flame. It would also make a good home for a bird. So here I have a selection of materials which I have collected. Okay, I have some offcuts from a plane. Okay, so this is just very, very fine wood fibre. Okay, you could substitute very fine shavings for feather sticks. Okay, it's still very, very nice curly slices of wood that are thin. Okay, next we have some bracken. And this is just being collected and warmed up in a pocket, and yeah, it's a fantastic bird's nest material, so bracken. And then here obviously we have some nice dead grasses. Grasses make a fantastic bird's nest or tinder bundle. Okay, so I will show you how to use that. And then finally here we have some bark. Okay, and at the moment this is in its unprocessed form. What we need to do is actually separate the outer bark, so this hard material on the outside, from the softer inner bark. Okay, so first thing to do is peel off the outer bark, and we are left with this fibrous stuff in the middle. So if we just tear it up, okay, we're tearing it up, you can see all the different layers of this bark, and effectively what we need to do is separate out those fibres so that they resemble something closer to the grasses here. Okay, I'm going to bring the camera in closer so you can see me do that. Pull and tear the inner bark fibres apart, separating each strand and making the bundle as fluffy as you can. Spend time doing this. Do not rush. Enjoy the process, knowing that success in bushcraft is often in the preparation of materials. Take the bundle between your fists and scrunch it up, ripping and grinding the bark in circular motions. If your material has been well selected, dust will fall like a cloud from your bundle. This shows that it is dry and should offer some encouragement. Many trees produce bark which will work for this method. Willow, lime or basswood, sweet chestnut, poplar, tulip poplar, cedar, the list goes on. Even finely shredded paper birch bark can make a bird's nest. Plants like honeysuckle shred thin layers of bark which can also be used in a tinder bundle. Nature is bountiful if you know where to look, and this is the beauty of bushcraft. It helps paint between the lines, giving you an intimate knowledge and understanding, one puzzle piece at a time, until finally you're able to see the picture as a whole. Okay, so now we want to make some bird's nests. So I'm actually going to make two bird's nests here. I'm going to make a grass and bracken one, and I'm going to make an inner bark and wood shaving bundle. Okay, and I can light both of them on fire. So to do it, what we need is the soft material in the middle. I'm going to choose the bracken because it seems to extend an ember quite nicely. So nicely fluffed up bracken in the middle, and then we get our outer bundle, okay, and we basically make it into a bird's sort of shape, just like that, and fill it with the nice core of material. And as you can see, with a bit of manipulating, okay, we have a nice soft core and we have a bird's nest right there. Okay, you can tie it to make it tighter if you wish, but to be honest I just normally just like wrap it together a bit like that, and I find it works absolutely fine. Okay, so there's one bird's nest. Second bird's nest. This one's going to be a little bit smaller, but effectively I'm just forming it into a nest shape. Nice soft material in the middle, and my ember will go in the middle there. Okay, so we have two bird's nests. Okay lads, so we have two tinder bundles here, two bird's nests. This one is grass and bracken. This one is wood shavings and inner bark. Okay, so this is willow inner bark, but you could use sweet chestnut inner bark, many other trees that have a useful inner bark. So yes, we have our two bird's nests, and what we need to do now is to generate the ember that goes inside these and allows us to then blow it to flame. So we do that with flint and steel by taking a piece of carbon and a piece of flint and striking them together. Let me show you the ins and outs of that. Okay guys, so here I have my flint and steel kit. This is just a leather pouch, and inside it I contain my kit which I put together for flint and steel. Now, the first thing you'll see is this container. Now this is a metal tin which I've punched a hole in it, and I've cooked it over the fire. Okay, I've put it in the fire, and what I've got in there is a few flints and some char cloth and some char fungus. And effectively what this char tin is full of carbonised material. Okay, or charred material. Most of this is cotton, so old jeans or tea towels that I've put in there and I've cooked over the fire. And because I've heated them with restricted oxygen, what's happened is they've charred and they've carbonised and become incredibly flammable. Okay, so this is a tin of incredibly flammable charred material, and I will teach you how to make this in a future video. Here I have my flints. Okay, these are just little chipped off pieces of flint, and flint is a really hard stone. Okay, it's got a hardness of over 7, and what this does is effectively it scrapes off little bits of metal when you strike it with a fire steel. And here is my traditional steel for flint and steel. Okay, and what this is a block of carbon steel. So carbon steel, which will throw sparks when hit against a piece of flint. The flint scrapes off little pieces of the carbon steel, and the pieces ignite, causing little sparks. You can probably see that. So I have my char cloth, I have my carbon steel, and I have my flint, which is a really hard stone. That's effectively what I need to start a fire. Let me just talk to you about this little piece of material I have here. Okay, so these are actually pieces of fungi. This nice orangey brown material is called amadou. Okay, and this is from a fungus called Fomus fomentarius, or horse's hoof. And it's taken from the inside of the fungus, from the trama layer. So you cut into the fungus and you take this out and you process it, and it makes it incredibly soft material that's almost like suede, almost like felt or suede. So it's incredibly soft. They actually used to use this to make hats and even flies for fishing. So this little piece of a fungus here is actually an incredibly historic and incredibly useful tinder, a piece of equipment to carry. So we have Fomus fomentarius, and then we have this little thing here. This is called a cramp ball. Okay, Daldinia concentrica, or King Alfred's cake. And again, this is a fungus that grows on ash trees, and it's actually fine enough that it will catch from a spark from one of these if you're very skilled. Okay, so you can catch one of these on fire with just one of these. Okay, so we got my flint and steel kit. I have my piece of carbon steel, and I have a flint. The flint will be held in my left hand because I'm right-handed, and the fire steel in my dominant hand. Okay, I will then angle the piece of flint to get a sharp edge pointing up at a slight angle, and what that does is that directs the sparks onto the top of the piece of flint and will allow it to catch anything that I hold to the flint, like a piece of char cloth. And what I would like to do is basically glance blows off it. Now be careful doing this. You're going to end up with lots of dings and scratched fingers, and it's going to hurt, okay, especially in cold weather, if you miss and whack your hand. So you don't want to go too hard at first. You just want to glance blows off it. Now some people really like to lock up their hand and go straight down like this, okay? I personally prefer a little bit of a looser wrist, and I go and just sort of strike against that piece of flint. You will see there are sparks coming off that. I'm not doing this particularly hard. Another thing to note is that the flint is very sharp. I mean, it's cutting into a piece of metal there. So just think, that can really slice open your fingers. So do be careful when you're handling both the steel and also the really sharp piece of flint. Traditionally, before we had metal tools, stone tools and flints were used for cutting up everything. So they are sharp and need to be treated like a blade. So we literally are scraping the fire steel along the flint to scrape off little tiny chips of metal, which can then combust. That's the theory. Little glancing blows along the edge of the flint to create sparks. And it's a feel thing, so just practice that until you've got it, okay? Just practice that until you can just pick it up and just sparks, 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 okay? You need to practice, you need to be confident with this tool. A deft flick of the wrist sends the carbon steel striker on a collision course with the flint. Glancing a blow from the sharp edge of the flint chips off incredibly small iron pieces from the carbon steel striker. These pieces react almost instantly with the oxygen in the air, forcing them to oxidize and heat up rapidly. This leads to spontaneous combustion. Sparks fly from the steel, momentarily dancing through the air, soon to be fizzled out and forgotten. To use these fleeting sparks, we must first catch them, placing a material like charcloth on the flint, aiming to strike sparks straight onto the material, causing it to catch and smoulder. Okay, so once you're confident that you can get a shower of sparks off of a flint, you then take a piece of charcloth or a piece of amdo, okay, and you just lay it on top of the edge of the flint, okay, so it's just sort of sitting there, pressed between your thumb and the flint. Then making sure we angle the flint so that it will strike nicely against the steel, we just do what we were doing before, striking some sparks. And already I have caught that on fire. You see that's on fire? Gets very hot. Ow. So that is now smouldering, and what I would do is put that in my tinder bundle. So I'm going to move the camera so you're a little bit further out, and we are going to get this first ember lit. Okay, I've made a base in my fire pit. I have my stages of kindling ready to go, and I have my bird's nest here. Okay, so I'm going to ignite the charcloth using flint and steel, put the charcloth into my bird's nest and blow it to flame. So we find a nice sharp edge on our flint, lay our charcloth on the flint and start striking. There we go. Charcloth is caught. Okay, so what we're going to do is put that in the bird's nest and just let it sit there for a second, blowing gently to grow the coal. And you've got your char cloth in the bundle. You blow on it, increasing that oxygen. The heat in the bundle will continue to increase. You can see the smoke's getting thicker. That's because it's actually caught on fire. And there you go. Okay, so what you then do is turn the bundle upside down so that the flames can rise through the rest of the bundle and catch fire. Okay, so we then take the feather sticks we made earlier and lay them across. You don't need feather sticks here, it just ensures that we get a nice big fire very quickly. We take our first small stage of kindling and we lay it across. Once the flames rise above the bundle, we take some more kindling, lay it across, and firelight's chaos, so I'm going to chuck them on crisscrossing. As you can see, we already have a pretty good fire. Wait a little bit for that kindling to catch and then we'll add our next stage of kindling. Okay, that's good. Chuck it on. We can chuck on some fuel now as well. This thing is going. And there you have it, guys. We've taken a piece of steel, a piece of flint and a little bit of cotton and we've made a fire pretty easily. It's a fantastic method. It takes some practice, but once you get it, it's incredibly satisfying. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm going to show you again, try and get the ember catching to flames in slow motion for you with the other tinder bundle that we made, the grasses one. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Well lads, I hope you enjoyed seeing how to make fire with flint and steel. As I said at the beginning, I had planned today to come out here and make a video on this. Now this is a lens, okay, a magnifying glass, and I had hoped to have enough sun to show you how to use one of these to light fires. But this just proves why it's so important to have a backup fire starting option. In my little traditional tinder bag here, I actually keep my flint and steel kit and my solar lens, so that if it's sunny I can use the solar lens to light the char cloth, and if it's not sunny I can rely on my trusty old flint and steel kit that works with any amount of sun. Okay, so this works in a lot more conditions than a magnifying glass. Both are viable, but with the magnifying glass you need sun, which we just don't have clear sun today. It's all behind cloud. So one day I will show you how to do it with a magnifying glass when it's nice and sunny. But for today I've taught you one of my favourite ways to light a fire, which is flint and steel. It's a fantastic traditional method. Carrying a little kit like this means I can get fire on a lot of my trips. So what I would like to do now is I've actually got quite a lot of footage of me using flint and steel actually in the woods. Okay, I've used it in the rain, all sorts of things, and I'd just like to roll a few of those clips for you to see me actually using this whilst camping. So I hope you enjoy those few clips, and I will see you over on the Teams chat for a little discussion on bushcraft and survival skills. Alright lads, hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed making it for you, and I'll see you in a bit. Just show you how I lit this fire. Okay, so I have a piece of carbon steel, striker, and a piece of flint. The flint scrapes off little bits of the metal, causing it to sort of spark. Okay, they're not the hottest sparks, they're not as hot as a ferrocerium rod or something like that, but they can catch on a piece of charred material like char cloth. So just glancing blows the steel off the flint, and you get this nice shower of sparks. But yeah, so a bit of char cloth on the rock. And there you go, it's caught. So I can blow it and you'll probably see it glow. Hopefully you can see that. This stuff's amazing. So I put it in my bird's nest. Literally just blow it to flame. There you go. Fire! The very next day after filming the Flint and Steel video, the sun shone vibrantly in the sky, so I headed out into the garden with my fire kit, some char cloth, and a single cramp bowl that I showed you earlier in the video, and I was determined to show you solar fire. This technique only works reliably in full sun, not when it's shyly hiding away behind a veil of cloud. So I selected the brightest possible spot I could find. I moved my magnification lens into position, concentrating the solar rays into the smallest dot of light I could possibly manage. This creates intense heat, and soon the char cloth was alight, smouldering and surrendering to the power of the sun. I decided to use the same technique to ignite the Daldinia concentrica, King Alfred's cake, or cramp ball fungus which I showed earlier in the video. I broke it in two, exposing the inner concentric rings to the sun, moving my magnifying glass back and forward to find the most concentrated spot, where the sun's energy was just a tiny dot of pure light on the tinder fungus. Once I'd found the sweet spot, I held the lens into position, and soon the cramp ball was smoking, giving off a fragrant, mushroomy smell and informing me that I had been successful. I transferred it to a tinder bundle, along with some extra tinder to extend the ember. Gently, I nursed the bundle to flame, giving it oxygen and fuel to complement its heat. To reward my patience, the grasses soon burst into flames, showing the power of the sun and also the utility of a magnification lens. It does go to show that the technique is a good one in the right conditions. I hope you've enjoyed this video, seeing how to light a fire with both flint and steel and also the power of the sun.